Hello. So when we left off, we were somewhere around here with our cone, sphere, and cube in a simple set. Okay, so let's reset our workspace again. Window, workspace, reset general to factory default. Okay. Okay, so the first thing I want to kind of talk about is how things are linked. Okay, so when I click on things in the scene, it shows me its parameters over here, or its attributes in the channel box. It highlights in the viewport. It also gets select over here. So this is called the outliner. This is like the overview of the objects and cameras and lights in your scene. This is the viewport where we've been moving things around. This is the channel box, which gives you kind of an overview of the numeric values that describe what's happening over here. There's also the attribute editor, which lets you see even more detail and numeric value with the things you're using. Okay, but they're all different ways of showing the same data, the same stuff. All right. Okay. So let's see. The first thing we might want to do, as we're going to start adding some complexity, is just to get organized. Okay. So over here, in my outliner, I can command click these three objects and hit on the Mac Command G, which groups them. Okay, and then I'm going to rename this objects. Okay, then I'm going to grab the background, the floor, and the light, and I'll group those as well. And I'll call this set, or maybe even better, environment. Okay. So what do we have here? We have a bunch of gray little camera icons, our shot cam, which is corresponding to what we're looking at through the camera here, our objects, and our set, right? The things that they're living on. These are all gray because they're hidden. So I can show and hide things by hitting Control H or Shift H, or I can go to display, hide selection, show selection. Okay, but once again, it's better to know the hotkeys. So H is the hotkey to remember. Control hides, Shift shows. Okay, so we have these other cameras. So perspective we can get to over here. This was our main kind of working camera to navigate around space and move our objects around. But there's other ones that are equally handy. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off this resolution gate so I get the full screen here. And I'm going to click over here. So this is our main view. And then if I click over here, we have our orthographic views. Okay, because this is three-dimensional space, it can often be really handy to look at our objects from multiple points of view at once. All right, we're going to need this when we model things. It makes it a lot easier to position stuff. So this is our top view, which corresponds to that one, our front view, which is over here, and our side view, and also our perspective view. And just like with the channel box, these are all linked too, right? So when I move this, it's moving in all these views as well. Okay. All right, some other stuff. When we're looking at our object, we have different ways of shading them, and they all have different uses. So sometimes we want to just look at it without any textures on it, with just kind of this default, even, fast lighting, and that's smooth shade. Other times we want to kind of look at the structure of our objects and kind of the mesh work, or be able to see through other objects. That's wireframe. You see there's a hotkey there. So if I hit 4, wireframe, 4, and 4. Okay. If I want to get back to my smooth shade view, I think it's 5. Yeah, 5. Okay. All right, so now with this different views, I'm going to hide all my stuff and talk about some fundamentals about 3D geometry. Okay, so in the top view, I'm going to talk a little bit about polygon or polygonal meshes and their components. So I can go to Mesh Tools, Create Polygon, or more hotkeys, Command F, Command Find, and you can find all the different commands over here. Create Polygon. And how this works is every time you click, it puts down a vertices, the little points at the end of stuff. Okay? Okay, so one vert can also be thought of as a point, a single vector in space. Or for now, you can think about it as like a coordinate in space. 2 points is called a strand or an edge. Well, so we have our 2 verts, and then the thing connecting them is either called a strand in some instances or an edge if we're building a mesh. 3 points, now we have a polygon. Okay? A 3-pointed polygon is called a triangle, right? It makes perfect sense here. And you know, up until this point, we've just been moving things around. But if I right-click on this, there's a contextual menu that comes up, a menu based on whatever you're doing, right? And if I click on this, object mode is how we kind of move the whole object around and move the pivot point. But now we can go to these individual components and edit them, right? And we can get out of it by going to object mode. So what do we got here? We got the edge. We saw what that is. The vertex. Vertex face, we're not going to worry about that. So we're going around to face. And then UV we'll do a little later. So go back for a second. Face. So this plane, right? 3 points in space makes a plane, is called a polygonal face. So we have face, edge, and vertices. Okay. There's more to this, of course. So if I'm looking at this here, one side is gray and the other side is black. What is that about? So here, I'm gonna delete this. Go to object mode, delete, and then I'm gonna draw my my polygon again. So I might create polygon. Okay. Now I'm gonna go in the opposite direction and hit enter. Now it's gray. So now this side is gray and the other side is black. Okay? So the order in which the points are constructed determines which side is up and which side is down. You don't need to worry about it one bit because you can flip it super easy, but that's kind of something to have vaguely in the back of your mind for the future. So what defines which way is up and which way is down? That's another component that we can't see in this little list here. That is called its normal. So to show that, I'm going to go display polygons face normal. Okay, a normal is this little line, it's called a vector, that is used to calculate lighting and shading and all kinds of other stuff. And it's basically what the computer is going to use to know like what angle or what what angle this face has relative to a light, relative to a camera, and all kinds of other stuff. So those are the components I want you to know about, right? The vertices, which are like the corners, the edges, which connect the vertices, the faces, that are kind of the shaded planes that define stuff, and the normal, which is what the computer uses to kind of calculate the lighting and other stuff. All right. So right now we have a triangle. We can also get rid of this here and go again. If I make 4 points, and this time I'm going to hold down X to snap it to the grid and hit enter. Now we have a quad, a four-sided polygon. Quads are the thing we're always striving for when creating polygonal mesh models. Quads create like not as much distortion in our textures. When we smooth them later and add subdivisions to them, they behave really predictably. They're like kind of a mark of good craft when modeling a polygon. Now we can't always do quads because there's situations where it's just like impossible, like it's like we can't get a square. So sometimes it's triangles, most of the times it's quads, that's what we're shooting for, but then there's also situations like this. So here's another one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is called an n-gon. N meaning number of polygons. So any polygonal face that has more than 4 edges is called an n-gon. Sometimes n-gons are inevitable, but they are something we generally want to avoid, okay? Because they're harder to rig, they're harder to UV, they're harder to edit the model. Why, you have no idea, and that's totally fine, but it will kind of become apparent as we learn more and more stuff. Okay, but just to know, sometimes they're inevitable, but that's what that's called. Okay, so when you hear this jargon kind of flying around of a vertices, an edge, a face, a triangle, a quad, an n-gon, you'll know now like what those things are. They shouldn't be gobbledygook. And the good news is, those terms are universal. So there's a lot of different tools like Maya, things like Blender and Houdini and Cinema and 3D Studio Max and Cinema 4D and stuff. In each of those programs, it's called a polygonal mesh. There's a vert, there's an edge, there's a face, there's a normal. Like those kind of core building blocks are universal across these bits of software, which are called DCCs, digital content creators. Okay, I'll stop there.